I expected the previous video not to do as well, and thank you all so much for watching, liking and commenting. But the reason I'm not proud of that video is quite simple. I spent a large amount of time talking about the gacha and not actually representing everything that the fans wanted. Now I know it's not possible to cover everybody's comments, but I want to try and cover as much ground as possible in this video. Let's start off talking about the story. Now, there are two major things that a lot of people want. A lot of people want some tweaking to the story. They believe that the pacing of the story is a little too fast. There are some character interactions that don't make sense, and I totally agree. One example of these kinds of interactions is at the beginning of the game when the rover meets Yang Yang and she gets attacked by the Crownless. When she gets knocked down by the Crownless, he gets pissed off. Which doesn't make sense because you guys literally just met less than 30 minutes ago. How the hell are you so close to her that you're getting pissed off that she got knocked out by an enemy? Doesn't really make sense. It's little things like that that a lot of people were suggesting should get changed, and I believe that these things should actually get changed as well. Another thing that is very crucial to the story is the addition of a skip button. This is hands down the most needed thing in the game, especially for me who plans on playing 2 accounts. I do not want to sit through the same dialogue 2 times. Please, I'm begging you, Kuro Games, add a skip button. Please, just please. Now let's talk about echoes. I'll start off with something that I think a lot of people will complain about a lot, and a lot of people have actually wanted this in Genshin too. It's about echoes loadouts. Now, for those of you who don't understand what an echo loadout is, basically all you just want to do is to be able to set a preset for these echoes and be able to say, if I want to transfer all of these echoes to one character, I can be able to do that with just pressing one button instead of needing to individually go through every artifact and change it. And that is a very smart idea. I think that this is actually something that should come to Wuthering Waves. I don't know if it's going to come, but I believe that with enough fan feedback, we can actually get this to happen. Apart from this, there was another thing about the echoes that actually got me quite interested, and it was using the echoes for open world puzzles. And these comments are pure genius, because if you think about it, we already have the echoes, and if an echo is equipped to the tonic slot, we can change into that echo and fight enemies. So why don't we have challenges in the open world that actually utilize this function? Why don't we have certain echoes be able to activate certain mechanisms? Why don't we have certain echoes that we can transform into in order to be able to get into different kinds of terrain? Maybe a cramped space, we transform into a smaller size echo in order to be able to get in. All of those kind of a thing. I think that's a smart idea. And then to add on to that, I personally suggest that we add in a feature that allows us to fight against our friends' echoes. Similar to how in Genshin Impact we have Arataki Ito's Uni Kabuto event, we can also have this as either a permanent event or as a limited event where we fight with our echoes against our friend's echo. So if our friend captures an echo, they can actually level up their echo and then gear it up, and then we get ready to fight, and then we can just have fun. Now, the thing here is this system adding echo fighting is going to need a lot of balancing on its own, and I'm also not expecting a lot of people to engage with this system. Similar to how TCG in Genshin Impact doesn't have a lot of people playing it, well, I believe a lot of people don't play that. So it'll be interesting to see what the devs at Kuro actually do with this information. With that said, there are a lot of people who are also talking about the character colors. A lot of people are making complaints that character colors are not varied enough, and I personally don't see that because I'm not an artist by any means. I'm not an artist, but I'm sure most artists will notice this kind of a thing. A lot of people complain that the colors of characters are a bit too repetitive, and I guess I could see that. If we talk about Yang Yang and Yuan Wu, this was an example that came up quite a bit. We see that these two characters have a similar color palette. It's blue and black, and this isn't the first time this comment has come up. It actually came up in the first ever version of this video, which was for the technical test. A lot of people complained that a lot of characters had a monochromatic color palette, and this can be best seen with Bailean and Sanhua. Sanhua has black and white, Baidian has black and white, so it makes sense. The most colorful character we got was Chixia. Chixia has the combination of red, white, and blue, so it will be interesting to see whether the devs actually take this feedback. From what we've seen with all the other character previews so far, I don't see much of a change. Maybe they do this with other characters instead of the current characters that are already established, but that remains to be seen. After all, Chixia got a massive glow up. I mean, if you remember how Chixia looked, she looked like this, and then all of a sudden she looked like this. So I don't think it's impossible to actually change the base colors of the characters, but we'll have to see what the devs decide to do. One thing that I'm not very happy for not covering in the previous video is Concerto effects. Now, when I heard about Concerto effects for the first time, it made sense. It's like you fight with your character long enough, and then when you switch out to another character, that character that is coming into the team gets a buff or a debuff to the enemy when they land, and that is totally fine. But then it's the fact that it's like an elemental system to me that doesn't make sense. And a lot of people also talked about the Concerto system. It feels very bare bones. I personally don't see the point of it. I believe that the Concerto system should be something of its own and attached to characters themselves. So if you switch with X character, you get this, and if you switch with X character, you get this. I don't think it should be something that is linked to the elements that the character controls. I think that elemental reactions should be on their own. And here's another thing, I don't even want elemental reactions to be in the game, because Wuthering Waves focuses on sound. So we should be more focused on sound elements more than we are focused on physical elements like fire, ice, and the rest of them. I don't think it's necessary to have those kinds of reactions, but this is just my personal take, and I would really like to see the way Kuro Games goes about it. I don't really have a concrete take. I don't have something I can say this is what I want them to do. It's more like just throwing it out there, and let's see what Kuro Games actually does. One other comment that a lot of people gave was about camera shake. Now, I personally did not see this in any of the videos that I watched. I've seen this comment come up quite a lot, and I am very confused. If someone down in the comments can actually link a video that shows me this camera shake, I would be very, very grateful, because I've struggled ever since the first closed beta test. This has been a recurring theme, and I don't know where it's coming from, but Wuthering Waves seems to have a camera shake thing that a lot of people do not like. So let's see what the devs do about that. While we talk about things that I didn't notice, let's talk about boss stagger times. This is another comment that came up quite a lot. A lot of people talked about the fact that when you parry a boss's attacks long enough, the boss gets stunned. And when he gets stunned, he stays stunned for quite a long time. Now, I personally never saw this, and this is the time that bosses stay stunned. At least this boss you're seeing on screen right now. Do you actually think that's too long? Because I personally don't. I don't understand whether people want us to be having the shortest amount of time possible. We need time in order to be able to rotate through our characters and be able to DPS. And this leads me to another complaint that I personally have, which is that a lot of the content is a little too easy to be cleared with one character. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to mold. That's not what I want. But we've seen a lot of people who have done solo boss runs, and they are killing the bosses very, very easily. And when I look at that, it's like, if you're able to kill the boss this easy with just one character, what is the point of team building? This was a question I had quite a lot. It rang a lot in my head during the first closed beta test. I really do hope that they tweak this a little, make it harder, because it removes the challenge from a solo boss run if you're able to actually beat the boss very easily on your own. This is probably a me thing. There are probably going to be a lot of people who don't agree, and that's totally fine. Let me hear your thoughts down below. Now, Reddit user Kira Lala actually talked about removing the cooldown on skills and ultimates, and I don't know about this. I personally don't like it. Now, here's what he prefaces it with. Let us make it difficult to get energy. If it's difficult to get energy, then you don't get your ultimate as fast. And if you don't get your ultimate as fast, you don't use your ultimate as often. Now, I can't see the appeal in this, because When you think of an ultimate attack, you think of an attack that can save you in a pinch and does a massive amount of damage, not something that you spam repeatedly over and over and over. Immediately you get it. It's something that you think about strategically in order to use. But at the same time, I want a little bit of a variation to this. Instead of having every character not have a cooldown to their skills, why don't we make that a specific part of everybody's kit? An example of this is with Danjin. Danjin's skill, her E, doesn't have a cooldown. You can spam it repeatedly over and over until you can do her resonance chain to heal her back up with all the health she drained with her E. That is fine. That is totally fine. For other characters like Sanhua, if she uses her E, you don't want to be spamming her E over and over and over. You need a cooldown on that. So for some characters, I think it's a smart idea to remove the cooldown, make it part of their kit, but don't actually make every character not have a cooldown. It sort of ruins the game. As for ultimates, I'll leave that to you guys down in the comments. What do you guys think about that? And somehow the video is already almost 15 minutes and I haven't even started talking yet. I don't even understand. At this point, let's just talk about the UI and get this over with. So for the UI, these are a lot of things that I noticed. The first one was always the font. A lot of people did not like the font, and I also did not like the font. One place where the font was very wonky was the health bar. The health bar is white and we have white text for the health bar. Never made sense to me. The gacha screen is too cluttered. It just looks very of course the gacha is just a placeholder, but it's like it just does not look good. And there are a lot of other things that a lot of people talked about in the UI section. If you want to read them, just head down to the description, look there, you'll see a lot of these people's comments, and then you'll be able to read them for yourself. The last thing that I'll talk about before I end off the video is about RNG. Now, when it comes to RNG, there have been multiple comments, but there is one comment, actually two, that I want to highlight. And I really do like these comments. I think they have a place. So the first comment talks about removing some layer of RNG by removing the different elemental bonus types. Now in Wuthering Waves, if you equip an Echo, you have a chance to get glacial damage bonus, arrow damage bonus, havoc damage bonus, spectral damage bonus, etc. This person suggested that instead of doing that, why don't we just combine that into just a single Echo substat that is elemental damage bonus. So instead of having to specifically look for havoc damage bonus for a havoc character, we just find elemental damage bonus and we equip it to the character, and it immediately buffs that character's elemental damage bonus. That is a very smart suggestion and I really like it. Now, if Kuro Games decides that they're not going to do this, this second suggestion then comes into play. When we fight an enemy who is infused with Havoc, Havoc is fire for those of you who don't know. If the enemy is a fire type enemy, let that enemy, if it drops an elemental damage bonus Echo, have a higher chance to be a fire damage bonus. So basically, if you want to get a certain elemental type of Echo, you just need to go and fight more enemies that are of that elemental type. That makes sense. And likewise, for if you want to get something related to defense, we can go find enemies that are very tanky. They have shields, and I think this makes sense. If we want HP, we go to an enemy that has a lot more HP than usual. I think this one might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think it works and I think it's a good idea to have. But let me know your thoughts down below. Now, the video is already almost 15 minutes long and I personally don't like having my videos longer than 15 minutes. So I'm going to end it off here. Like I've already said, if you want to look at the fans' comments, just go down to the description. It's already linked there. I'm sorry I can't cover everybody's comments. I really want to cover a lot more people's comments, but it's just difficult with time constraints. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for Project Mugen and Wuthering Waves updates, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.